What's up, y'all? What's good? Welcome to the What Up Doe Show. It's your boy Dame D, and I am back with another one. Today we're getting ready to. We're waiting on this autopsy report to be to come back and be read. So I just want to come in and start up live. I got a few things I was. So hold on, let me pause this. They're getting ready for the. They're getting ready for the press conference. So I'm going to pause that for a second. So yeah, we're waiting to hear. So I want to check my audio and video, make sure everybody can hear me. And then I gotta do a little adjusting. I was rushing to get in here and had a little misspelling going on my title. So I have to correct that real quick. So give me a second, you guys. So what's going on out there? YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Good morning, everybody. Today is Wednesday, the 22nd. The autopsy report of Nolan Wells is coming back today. We've been waiting on to hear about this autopsy report for a few weeks. So therefore, Ben Crump and the family can go on ahead and proceed to do what they need to proceed on doing after hearing this autopsy report. My question to you guys is, what do you think this report is going to come back? I think they're going to try to run a bunch of BS. That's why a second autopsy report was already done by the family. So they're probably going to try to come back and say, in my opinion, they're going to always try to protect their people. And I think they're going to come back and try to say this was an accidental drowning. But yeah, let me go and correct a few things that I need to correct. So make sure you guys hear me. Make sure you guys okay, so I can be heard. So let me come out of here real quick. I just got to, like I said, I need to correct a few things on my title. Rushing to trying to get in here before they started this young man's autopsy report. So I want to say what up though to everybody out there on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. We are broadcasting live. We're just waiting on them to come out. Matter of fact, let me turn this on. Okay, so they're still doing their testing. And we're just waiting on them to come out. But like I said, the family has already had a second autopsy report done. So this is the ruling from here. Let me, so hopefully I don't get a bunch of interference. Hopefully we'll be able to show this. But yeah, I'm trying to correct this spelling before they start up. So what's going on, everybody, man? The comment section is definitely open. I want you guys to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Give me your thoughts. Give me your opinion. I would love to hear what you guys think. What do you think this autopsy report is going to come back and read? So give me a second, you guys. I'm just trying to correct correct some spelling. So yeah, like I said, we're waiting on the autopsy. They're getting ready to come out in a second. I'm just waiting on I'm just correcting a few things that I need to correct on my grammar. Rushing in here. I'm saying everybody on pointing to everybody on YouTube and Instagram. Okay, so I'm did what I needed to do on that. Let me go back and correct this now. Here, let me check to make sure they have not started up. Okay, so they have not started anything up yet. So what's good, everybody? Good morning. We're just waiting on this young man's autopsy report to come back to be read. The comment section is definitely open. I want you guys to like, comment, subscribe, and share. I'm just getting prepared for this autopsy report, so I'm actually going to bring it and add it to the stage. Okay, so we are ready for everything to start up. We just waiting on them to start everything up. So give me you guys' his opinion. Give me your thoughts. What do you think they're going to come back? What do you
Okay, 1, 2,
report is going to come back
4,
with the same old
5,
shit that
6,
probably
7,
going to read that
8,
there was
9, and 10.
no
We all good?
physical harm
All
done
right.
to him. It was an accidental drowning, you know, and I think that's the bullshit that their report was done. You know, so hopefully they're being transparent. Hopefully they'll be honest. You know, hopefully they'll be forced to tell the truth, meaning that the second autopsy report was already done. You know, so that's what I'm hoping. And I want to, you know, just just speak about this for a second. I'm glad Ben Crump and the NAACP jumped on this and came down and made this a worldwide case, you know, because social media, I'm not social media, but the mainstream media really didn't try to talk about this story. And I want to give my I want to give my I want to congratulate, not congratulate, but I want to give my thanks and appreciation to all the, you know, black YouTube, and not even just the black podcasters, and, you know, just everyone who talked about this case, everyone who brought this to the light, everyone who forced you know, the authorities' hands down there in Mississippi, you know. So I want to, like I said, I just want to all the podcasters out there that kept this alive, that spoke about this, you know, that's speaking about the unjust and just all the other cases that's been going on throughout the country. You know, we're probably going to talk about. I'm probably going to talk about this a little later. Difficulties, but yeah, you know, we're going to talk. We're going to talk about this a little bit later on. Um, you know, just all the hanging. So yeah, that's messing with once they start up, we'll go back in there. But yeah, that's kind of messing with my stream. So I'm waiting on what I think I may do. Instead of showing that, I'm probably going to set it up on my other camera. So, but yeah, you know, I'm glad Ben Crump and team had a second autopsy report done, because, you know, in my opinion, they're going to try to pull this same bullshit that they've been pulling, you know, with our people when in these type of circumstances, when it's a death, you know, due to the hands, you know, of a white man, you know, and that's what's going on. You know, we hate to try to make this thing seem racial, but it is what it is. You know, this young man went out there on on a boat ride with his young friends to celebrate the 4th of July and did not make it home. You know, so they have not started the press conference up yet. It's still we're still waiting. So I'm still I'm gonna try to add it back to the stream. So let me try to share it back to the stream and see if we can not have a bunch of buffering going on. So you guys gotta, I apologize. You know, trying to get that buffering situation taken care of with my with my, you know, but like I said, at the end of the day, man, back. See, and yeah, it's this. It's me showing this, me having this up in here got me buffering. But like I said, at the end of the day, I hope that they try to be honest about what happened to this young man. That's all that I'm quite sure that this young man family wants is just the truth of what happened to this young man. And that's what the country wants. Anybody that don't want to see the truth comes out or don't want to see justice for this family, are not good people. Because if this happened to any of your kids, your son, your daughters, you would want the truth of what happened to your kids. It's all what this family wants. They just want the truth. It's been a lot of this shit going on throughout this summer. I don't know what's going on, but we'll talk about this a little later. We have to really just be alert of what's going on and just be honest. So we are being targeted. A black man, and we talked about a young woman that came from Michigan, that went down to Florida to celebrate Juneteenth, and they found her hanging. So this is not a coincidence, and this is something that I'm going to talk about tonight. Our lives are being taken away one by one. Well, I thought I corrected that. All right, where does it say that? Hopefully it said that on the phone. Let me go and check. Okay, so yeah, we're waiting some autopsy report to come back. They should be getting ready to come out any second now. They're waiting on that to start up. So that should be starting up any minute now. So you guys give me your thoughts. Give me your opinion on this? What do you think is what do you think they're going to come back and say? We've been waiting on this for a week or two. And if I start having a lot of buffering, I'm going to stop. I'm not going to I think I'm going to hook up my other camera and show it, because this is something that I won't be copywritten on. I can actually show it live. So yeah, you guys, give me a second. I'm getting ready to set up my other camera so I want to be able to. You know what? We'll try it this way. I'm not even gonna do that. I'm already live, so I'm already in here. But yeah, this is something that I'm going to talk about tonight. What's been going on throughout the country. Black men and women finding themselves, dead when hanging with white friends. We have to talk about this. This is not a coincidence. This is something that's going on throughout the country. We have to inform each other. We have to continue talking about this, because this is something that's going on. And I don't know if a lot of our people are aware, of these situations, or putting one and one together what's going on. But black folks hang themselves. And this whole stereotype about black folks, and I'm not going to say all blacks cannot swim, because it's a lot of black folks cannot swim. But in my opinion, I think stereotype, most of the stereotype, it's a lot of black folks that do not, know how to swim. And it's a lot of white folks that do know not how to swim. So really, at the end of the day, it's a stereotype, but what we do going forward, parents, we have to get our kids swimming lessons. We have to get them in the water, because these are, situations where we're hearing too much of this going on. When black people are out in the water, they're finding themselves, in fucked up situations, finding themselves where they're drowning from not knowing how to swim, so we got to get ahead of this. This is something that was taught in school when I was in school. We had swim class, so I don't know if they need to bring that back, add that back to the curriculum. When school has been over 30 years, I've been in high school, so, but I'm quite sure they still have swimming on the curriculum. So we have to make sure we take advantage of things like that, because we don't lost a lot of lives over the years from not knowing how to swim. In my opinion, I think it's just a stereotype. Like I said, most of the people that I went to school with, that I grew up with, we knew how to swim. I thought they were supposed to start it up at 9 o'clock. I rushed in here, jumping the gun. But I'm just gonna sit here and chop it up with you guys until they start this autopsy report up. So let me make sure you guys can be heard. Can you hear? I see a lot of buffering going on. So I may have to pull this out and stop that because I'm not even moving up to the. Can you hear? I see a lot of buffering going on. Yeah, so I'm gonna stop. I may have to pull this out and stop that because I'm not even moving up to the. Can you hear? I see a lot of buffering going on. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna see how it acts and see how it goes. And start acting up, I'll stop that. It look like it's doing it now. So I'll go ahead and end that stream. Stop from sharing because it's actually fucking up what I got going on. So yeah. So I'm just sitting here. I'm jumping back and forth. We're waiting on this autopsy report to come out to be read. I don't know why it's taking them so long. But I'm just trying to get a little bit ahead of the game. I want to know you guys' opinion, your thoughts. What do you think? What do you think this autopsy report is going to reveal today? What do you think they're going to say? In my opinion, I think they're going to come back with some bullshit. They're going to try to say it was an accidental drowning. They may even try to, they can't lie, so they're going to have to be somewhat truthful because, like I said, the family has already had a second autopsy report done, so it pretty much should read the same thing. So in my opinion, they can't lie. So they're going to have to be transparent and honest. So today we should find out the truth of what happened to this young man, especially, but we can be fooled, even with the second autopsy report. We know how sometimes they work hand in hand with each other, and try to pull the curtains over our head again with the second autopsy report. But at the end of the day, hopefully we'll get some answers. The family will get the answers that they need. I have the press conference waiting, playing live in the background. So once I hear that, I'll bring it in on the stage. That way you guys will be able to see it and hear it with me firsthand. So the comment section is definitely open. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts, your opinion on today's, I'm not going to say verdict, but today's autopsy reading. What do you think the report is going to reveal? What do you think it's going to say? We've been waiting pretty much almost 2 weeks to hear this. We've heard reports on how the body was carried out of the water to the autopsy report, how they had this young man upside down, and it's not, routine that's how the body should be transported or travel, so I don't know if they tried to fuck up the autopsy report by transporting this young man face down, because when you're face down, you're pretty much your blood will sink to the front of your face or whichever way you're laying, in my opinion, or you would think that, so hopefully it didn't have any effects on how this autopsy report will read or will go today, or when they examine this young man, I should say. But give me you guys it starts. All right, here we go. So I'll just keep it like that. I won't show it. Okay, so they're going to be starting up in about 2 minutes. 2 minutes. So yeah, you guys give me your thoughts, give me your opinion. I'm all they should have been taking bets in Vegas to determine what these people are going to come back and say. But like I said, they're going to have to be transparent. They're going to have to be open and honest, because it was the second autopsy report already done by the family. So pretty much Ben Crump and the family probably already know what happened to this young man. You know, they probably was just, you know, holding their cards back, waiting to see what the state was going to come back with, what the medical examiner, I should say, was going to come back with. You know, you got to remember, this was the same lady, the medical examiner, that's been under investigation for allegedly, misleading cases, allegedly mislabeling cases. You know, so we gotta keep that in mind too. You know, the comment section is open. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts. I would love to hear you guys' opinion. What do you think this autopsy report is going to read today on this young man? You know, like I said, the family probably already know. They've already had a second autopsy report done. So at the end of the day, Ben Crump and the family probably already know what happened to this young man. They're just holding their cards back, waiting to see what the autopsy or what the medical examiner is getting ready to say. You know, but in my opinion, I think they're going to try to come back with some bullshit. I think they're going to try to say this was an accidental drowning, due to maybe alcohol or some shit like that. You know, watch, I guarantee you, but hopefully with this second autopsy report that they have to be honest and transparent on what really happened. You know, so hopefully after this, man, we're getting ready to hear some indictments drawn up. We're getting ready to hear some friends probably getting ready to be arrested and things like that. You know, so I do have I'm just waiting on I will add that to the conference to the stage, or if I start to get a lot of buffering, I probably will pull out and just keep the audio in there. Yeah, but we got a few people watching. I need for you guys to make sure if you're over on Facebook, please come over to YouTube and hit that subscribe button. Your boy is still less than 50 subscribers away from 1K, so I cannot do it without you guys coming over to the channel and hitting that subscribe button. So please do your boy a favor, go on over to my channel over on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and then you can come back to Facebook or Instagram, wherever you're at watching. We up early. This came through my feed. I'm like, okay, I just want to come in here and talk about it while it's live. So let me go back over here just to make sure that they have not started up. Nope, they have not started it yet. They said a couple of minutes. So we're just waiting on them to start up this autopsy, to start this conference up. Yeah, so give me your opinion. The comment section is open. I would love to hear you guys' thought. I would love to hear you guys' opinion on today's reading of Nolan Wells' autopsy report. We up early. We trying to bring you news firsthand. Good morning to everybody on YouTube. Good morning to everybody on Facebook and Instagram. Hopefully everybody's having a great morning. We're just waiting on this autopsy report to be read. I want to know everyone's opinion, before they come out. What do you think this autopsy report is going to say? Hopefully, meaning the parents had already had a second autopsy report done. They're going to have to be upfront. They're going to have to be honest, and they can't run no bullshit. Yep. So I'm just waiting on everything to come back. Let me make sure you guys can hear me clearly. Yep. So I'm just waiting on. Okay, we good. So we definitely can be heard good. We're just waiting on this autopsy report to come back. I want to put it up on the screen, but we were having a lot of buffering going on. So we're right now until they start talking. We're just going to have the audio coming through. So how's everybody morning today? It's Wednesday morning. Hopefully they come back with some good news so this family can, go forward, man. Because these young men have been hiding. We've been hearing a lot of reports. A lot of the friends have been talking up now. I even saw that one of the actual young men, I don't know how true that was, but I saw that come through my feed this morning too, that one of his friends broke their silence and was talking about the case, which I don't think that's true. I think that probably was fake news. But we're going to find out today, and hopefully we'll get the truth out of this autopsy report of what happened to this young man. So my question to everybody today is, what do you think the results are going to come back? What do you think they're going to read? Sound like they're getting ready to start up? In my opinion, I think they're going to try to come back with some bullshit. I think they're going to try to say that this was an accidental drowning. But I think they're going to really have to be transparent. They know there was a second autopsy report done, and it's probably already back. The lawyers, Ben Crump and the family, probably already know. They're just probably waiting to see what the medical examiner is going to say. Because like I said earlier, we already know that this the medical examiner, she has already been up, under scrutiny for mislabeling a lot of cases, cases like this, black cases that has come through her desk. I don't want to name none of the cases because I don't know the names of the cases that came through her desk where they were mislabeled. A lot of these deaths were accidental drownings. They were accidental hangings and suicides and things like that, when really, allegedly they were murders. These young men were murdered. So they're still setting up. I can hear it in the background. So once they come back, I'll bring it up to the stage and we'll show it, depending on how this freaking internet over here. We've been having a lot of buffering going on lately. I thought I had it fixed, but apparently still want to act up. Yep. So I'm just waiting on that. So give me you guys' opinion. We got a few people in here watching. The comment section is open. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts. I would love to hear your opinion. This is something that's been going on throughout the country. We're going to talk about this later. I just wanted to wait and hear this autopsy report. And then we're going to we're definitely going to talk about this later. This is an epidemic going on throughout the country. We have to wake up. We have to realize what's been going on. It doesn't take a rocket science to figure out to see what's going on. We are being attacked. We are being targeted. Individually, I should say. They're not doing it in like mass settings or things like that. They're doing it in situations where you may be out swimming or out in camping and things like that. I just recently did a story yesterday about a young man that was pretty much almost hung, but they failed at trying to hang this young man. He had went down to a Michigan festival, and this was after this Nolan Wells case happened. So they don't give a fuck. They're still trying to kill our people. And we have to alert. We have to ring the bell. And it seemed like this should have been talked about on mainstream media, on the mainstream news, I should say, because we are definitely being targeted, in my opinion. We have to wake up and realize what's going on. These people are, systematically, taking us out one by one. And in my opinion, that's what's going on. We don't know if this is something that, that they've rehearsed or talked about or planned, but it's definitely going on, and it's something that we got to continue talking about until this shit stops, until this shit ends. Because like I said, I just did a story yesterday where a young man, I forget his name, it'll come to me in a second, where he performed at a Michigan festival after this Nolan last week. And this young man was found in his tent, neck damn near cut off. But luckily this young man survived. They tried to kill him, but they did not. They left him. They didn't finish the job. So this young man, hopefully he'll make a full recovery. He'll be able to come and talk and tell the authorities what happened and who did this, hopefully. And like the family said, he was not suicidal, because those are the first things that they try to throw up, is that it was a suicide or he was suicidal, because once and I just recently found this out, once they rule these cases suicides, There's no more investigation. The investigation is over with, it's done. The case is pretty much closed. So the sister came out and I'm glad that she came out and said that. She said this young man was not suicidal. He had his whole life ahead of him. He actually went down to this festival to perform, and this happened to this young man. They left him for dead. They tried to hang this man. She said that he was found hanging outside of his tent. And this is not in the deep south. This is here up north in Michigan. And what about the young woman, Tanisha, her name had come to me too, but it was a young woman out of Michigan who went down to celebrate Juneteenth. And this shit has been going on throughout the whole summer and before the summer, I should say. It's just, we just been keeping a lot of this stuff alive, and like I said, again, I want to give, a shout out to all the podcasters and all the people who've talked and kept these cases alive, for these young men and women families, who wants justice. And this all this young man family want is justice. They just want to know the truth of what's going on. You got so many people trying to hide evidence from this young man's family. They were trying to hide the keys, they were trying to hide the phones. What kind of friends would not be out there trying to search and help and look? Listen, we have to be careful of who we call our friends. But like I said, we're going to talk about this tonight. This is an ongoing thing. This is not a coincidence of what's been going on. And I want to, like I said, I want to thank all the, Taylor Public Housing House. He's been talking about this. Willie D, he's been keeping all these stories alive. The What Up Though show over here, we've definitely been talking about these stories and doing our due justice on trying to keep these stories out there and alive, because like I said, this can be your brother, your sister, mother, auntie, sons, daughters, nephews, anybody, in your family. So, you would want the same respect for your family member. So we're going to continue to talk about these stories, until this shit, until we get down to the bottom of all this shit. Because what's going on is we are being singled out, we are being attacked systematically. We have to understand what's going on. Yep. So they still have not started. They said 2 minutes they will be starting up, but you know how shit is. 2 minutes turn into 10. Yeah, but hopefully today they'll come out with the truth. A second autopsy report was already done by the family. They probably already know the results. They just trying to hold their hand and see what these motherfuckers gonna try to come back and lie about. So the comment section is open. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts, your opinion on what you think these motherfuckers gonna try to come back and lie and say. Like I said, in my opinion, I think they're gonna come back and try to say it was an accidental drowning. But I think with the second autopsy report is going to keep them honest. So it sounds like they're getting ready to come in. So hopefully they're getting ready to start this shit up. Okay, here we go. So I'm getting ready to bring it in. They're getting ready to start it up. Okay, if it starts doing a lot of buffering, I'm gonna stop sharing it and then we'll just listen to the audio. All right, here we go. Let me make sure that I'm still on this. Oh, well, I didn't even bring it to the stage. My bad, you guys. All right, here we go.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Far too often, our young people are confronted with challenges, and many jurisdictions and states don't take those challenges serious. We cannot allow another individual, particularly a young Black man's death, go uninvestigated. We have seen this happen over the years, not only in Mississippi, but across the country. It is unfortunate that our young people only seek to enjoy life, and as a result of participating in activities no longer have life. For the NAACP, we take this and many other cases serious because every person matters. I want to thank the Mississippi State Conference, particularly Alitra Perryman, for working with the family and supporting the family on the onset. Because it's difficult to lose a loved one, it's even more difficult to navigate a process when all eyes are on you. And the pressure of balancing between grieving and navigating is upon you. And so for the NAACP family, this is our role, is to step in, to support when the families have an issue like this, and the local officials seem not to hold people accountable. It's unfortunate when you see news reports and law enforcement officials are repeating what individuals are saying as opposed to investigate the individuals who gave you the information, because you don't know who was involved or not involved. Amen. And so narrative matters in this case. And we're saying that in Nolan Wells' situation, the narrative should not be it was an accident before there was an investigation. The narrative should not be the words of individuals who went on a boat to the island with him, but they came without him, but with his cell phone, and you don't investigate those individuals. We're not accusing anyone of anything other than the state of Mississippi and local officials. We're accusing them of being derelict in their duties. To follow up and to ensure that regardless of what happened, that there was the proper investigation,
Right.
so that this family and that community could be assured that if anyone was involved, they would be held accountable. And if it was truly an accident, that the families will have the necessary answers that any family deserves in this situation.
And that's what I was saying in the beginning. They just want answers. Who wouldn't want
I want
answers?
to bring to the podium Attorney Benjamin Crump, a friend of mine who
fair use. This is
stepped
for
in to take the case and in support of the family to ensure that they get the answers that they deserve, and that local officials and anyone involved will be held accountable to this family, to that system, because we are all parents, siblings, to loved ones who should not be confronted with this reality. Attorney Crump.
Thank you very much, President Eric Johnson, for your leadership, for the leadership of the Mississippi Conference of NAACP, and being there during the homegoing services to help the family go through what no parents want to go through. Thank you to Chairman Leon Russell, my longtime mentor from Florida, who helped raise so many of us. Thank you for always being there, Chairman Russell. As President Johnson said, I'm Attorney Ben Crump, representing the family of Nolan Wells, but not just me, it is a team effort of incredible lawyers and investigators and paralegals. Attorney Lisa Park, attorney who you'll hear from in a few minutes, Attorney Eric Hertz, Attorney Gary Buchan, Attorney Camila Moore, Cliff Jones, Jared Preston, Alan Williams, our whole team of people who are committed, as I said, President Johnson, on this ferocious search for the truth of what really happened to Nolan Wells. But before we begin to discuss the intricacies of the preliminary findings of the autopsy, I think it would be appropriate for you all to hear from the people who knew Nolan Wells best, so they can thank you
I hope they're not gonna try to
themselves
drag
and
right.
tell you
Go ahead
about
and read.
the trials and tribulations that they have been enduring since July 4th. July 4th would never be the same for them. I bring to the podium Nolan Wells' mother and father, Christine and Elmore. NAACP, welcome.
First of all, I want to say thank you all so much. Thank you to President Johnson as well as Chairman Russell. This has been a difficult journey. Losing a child, it truly breaks your heart. It is a pain that is just, you can't measure it. Especially someone like Nolan, who brought so much joy and light and life to everyone. You don't find too many genuine people like him. So to lose that light at such a young age under these circumstances has been absolutely difficult, which is why we've gone this route. There's so many people out in the public asking all of these questions, but the only question that we have is what happened to our son. That is the only question.
Right.
Have consistently been great by the, there's been this, that, and other. I've been called, I love everyone.
So we'll listen to it for now because we're having a lot of buffering, and I don't want to do it like that. Let me make sure you guys can hear what I'm hearing. Let me make sure you guys can Let me make sure you guys let me know if you guys can hear the commentary coming from the fan. Because I had to pull it out because we were in a lot of buffering going on, so I had to stop that so in the audio. So the comment section is open. Let me know if you guys can hear this. Yeah, I'm still having a lot of issues going on. Oh, let me know if you guys can hear everything over there on Facebook. I was showing everything, but we've been having a lot of buffering going on, so I'm just gonna do it audio. Oh wow.
Of medicine, public health, and justice. And for this case, we sought out the very best, and we are proud to be working with the very best.
Thank you, Attorney Park. I again want to express our gratitude to President Johnson, Chairman Russell, and the NAACP, because civil rights is more important than ever in the United States of America today. And so we thank you for the civil rights leaders stepping up to say that our children's lives matter now more than ever. And I want to thank all of you for getting up 8 in the morning. If people could see how many people are gathered here, they would say, you all are truly blessed to have the support of America, Christine and Elmore. And I want to thank the media for covering this matter, because they don't always cover when our children are taken away from us in highly unquestionable ways. And I do understand there's a lot of news going on in America today. I woke up to them saying LeBron James is going to announce where he's going to play basketball next year. But I'm very happy that the media said this story is just as important. And I'm sure LeBron James and Rich Paul and, Stephon Curry and Draymond Green, Jaylen Brown, Embiid, Maxey, Giannis, Bam, and many other
this damn autopsy report.
players
This shit is crazy.
in the National Basketball Association will all agree that our children's lives are far more important than where LeBron or any other player will play next year.
No, I agree.
And
but
so that's why
you shouldn't
I
even be talking
thank
about that.
you
Let's
all
move on to this
for
autopsy
being
report,
here,
please.
because this news is as important as any news in the United States of America, finding out why is Nolan Wells dead.
Well, I agree. It's a lot of people there at this press conference.
And I want to thank you all who have called the call center. I want to thank Reverend Al Sharpton. I want to thank Mr. Tyler Perry. I want to thank Mr. Terry Owens for putting up the $125,000 reward for anybody out there who have information so we can get to the truth of what happened. I mean, any videos, and we've gotten so many videos, President John, from that day from young people, and we want them to have the courage to come forward with the pictures, what you heard. I know people said there were a lot of disturbances out there. Some believe it involved Nolan. All of those things are important to get to the truth of what happened. The fact, Christine, that the United Cajun Navy are so forthcoming. The fact that they told us, we haven't heard from any of their local officials, that Nolan was found face down, fully clothed. Well, that's significant to us because the last time we saw him on the videos, he was without a shirt. So at what point did he put on a shirt? Somebody saw something. Somebody knows something. There were almost 300, 400 people. Somebody knows something. So, Scott X, we're trying to just make sure people understand that you can call the Nolan Wells tip line at bencrump.com. We will gladly listen to you, take any information as we try to put together this puzzle of what happened to Nolan Wells. And today, we're going to add some more parts to this puzzle because my legal team and I, we stand for truth, no matter who it implicates or who it exonerates. We stand for justice, no matter who it convicts or it acquits. Yeah, and we stand for transparency because we got eyes that can see.
See, and that's why that's.
And we don't need government officials
transparency. So these motherfuckers
having to narrate it for you and
they're
me.
gonna try to lie still.
We can see it for ourselves.
In front of our faces.
Transparency. 'Transparency. That leads to the truth, The truth is the foundation for accountability and justice. And that's all we're seeking, as Christina Elmore said from day one. So with that, and Christina Elmore, if you all want to sit, we're about to go through this autopsy. And I know it may be a
All right,
little
let's
emotional.
get down to the get down. Let's go. Okay, I need for you guys
Thank
to
you,
comment.
President.
I would love to hear you guys' thoughts before they read it out. You know, in my opinion, they're gonna try to pull some bullshit saying it was an accidental drowning. You know, but that's why the second autopsy report was done. You know, so I need for you guys to comment. I would love to hear your thoughts on this before they come back and report on this. So give me you guys'
Let's go
thought.
through this.
You know, everybody that's watching me here over on YouTube, please do me a favor. Go over, on Facebook, go over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and then you can come back to Facebook and continue watching. But your boy is bearing down on 1K subscribers, and I need for y'all to go over to my channel on YouTube and hit that button. And you can come right back to Facebook.
Begin
Please.
to present the preliminary findings of the autopsy. We want to especially thank Mr. Colin Kaepernick for not thinking it robbery to pay for the autopsy. This is the first start. Let's go with the first one.
All right, here we go.
So, where's the? I need the second page. That's the real one.
Give me Nolan's picture. Give me Nolan's picture.
An autopsy will be provided for the media at press@bencrump.com. And so, Mr. Jones, keep that. I don't need this one. I just need this one here. Pull this closer. So, pull this up here. So, Dr. Roger Mitchell, board certified forensic pathologist, performed a preliminary report on the death of Nolan Xavier Wells. He conducted and presented this report on July 19th, 2026. Preliminary report, second autopsy, death of Nolan Xavier Wells. Cause of death, undetermined, pending investigation. And we'll explain that as we go through the report this morning.
Right, well, at least
the manner of death,
drowned.
undetermined, pending investigation.
Right. So that means it's this getting ready to go to the grand jury.
This forensic pathologist was retained to perform a second autopsy examination on the body of Nolan Xavier Wells. Name of deceased, Nolan Xavier Wells, age 8 years old, race black, gender male, date of death unknown. Second autopsy date was performed on July 10th, 2026. Preliminary findings, and this is significant. Focal area of red discoloration in the soft tissue of the back of the head, the occipital region. He said the etiology is unknown at this time. He said the body was received after the initial autopsy. He said the body had marked decompensation. He said corona incision of the scalp, brain removal, Y-shaped incision of the anterior torso, and he talked about the organs being removed as is common. accompanied in the body cavity. And that when you have an autopsy, the organs are removed from the body and they are dissected and examined. And then they are put back in a bag within inside the body. So when they're buried, their remains will all be with them. But in this occasion, if there's going to be a second autopsy, then the organs are put in the body cavity. So the second pathologist could be able to examine the organs as well. Very significant for Dr. Mitchell was that the anterior inner neck structures were absent, not received with the body. And we'll explain that in just a minute. And then it talks about the additional procedures performed during the second autopsy. And we'll go into the paragraphs on that there because he explains it there
was a homicide
in his narrative. So where's the first page of the discussion?
I tried to strangle
Not the
him.
diagram yet. You can keep the diagram over
I
there.
tried to choke him out. So look, I need for you guys to like, comment, subscribe, and share. I would love to hear your thoughts. I would love to hear what you guys are thinking after hearing Ben Crump read off this autopsy report.
He talks
Comment section
in
is
the
open.
preliminary discussion.
I would love to hear you guys'
opinion.
thoughts. You know, I'm gonna let him finish.
This forensic pathologist
we'll do our
identified
commentary
several
after this.
limitations during the second autopsy that create barriers to establishing a definitive cause and manner of death for Nolan Xavier Wells. And that's important. He talks about the fact that we didn't get to see the body when it was first recovered, like the medical examiner working for Mississippi would have seen it. He talked about the second autopsy performed on Nolan Wells revealed marked decompensation or changes. Marked decompensation can obscure the presence and absence of bruising on the skin surface, especially during a second autopsy examination. What he's saying, because the body was so decomposed that you couldn't tell if there was bruises or abrasions on the body when he received it on the 10th of July. For these reasons, additional dissection procedures not performed during the first autopsy examination were performed to rule out potential blunt force injuries responsible for the death. These procedures included facial dissection, posterior head and neck dissection, dissection of the ribs, the pelvic, dissection of the subcutaneous and deep soft tissue, dissection of the back, the buttocks, the arms and legs. He did all of this to rule out things. He ruled out there were no fractures or deep tissue injuries identified. This was very important because he wanted to be very thorough and very transparent, because transparency is the key to getting to the answers of why Nolan Wells is not with us. So he did that there and was very straightforward, very open, very open. He says, however, dissection of the back of the head during the layered posterior neck dissection revealed a 12 by 8 inch focal area of red discoloration in the deep soft tissues overlaying the occipital bone. And talked about found discoloration when open into the back of his head towards the occipital bone. And we why is this dark red here in the back of his head? And so he was important to note that in his report. He said that etiology of this finding is unclear. There are no lacerations of the overlaying skin nor fractures of the underlying skull. These findings are inconclusive for perimortem injury due to both the extensive decomposition and the absence of associated injuries. This finding, however, is significant enough to be highlighted in this preliminary report for further investigation. It is important to reiterate that the finding could not have been observed in the first autopsy because the posterior head and neck dissection were not performed. He said another limitation, move this back here. Another limitation faced by this forensic pathologist was the absence of the anterior internal neck structures. The trachea and the laryngeal cartilage, the thyroid horn, and the hyoid bone were not received with the body. So he's saying that the throat was not received with the body when he got Nolan Wells' body in Washington, D.C. to perform the second autopsy. And so let's discuss that with what he said about that. He said, it is assumed that the initial pathologist retained these structures for additional evaluation. He said the retention of the anterior neck structures during an initial autopsy is a common forensic pathology practice. He was chief medical examiner for 7 years in Washington, D.C. And he said that if they had concern about throat or any fracture or compression of the throat, they too will hold them back. He doesn't know why they held the throat back, but he said the throat was not with the body of Nolan Wells when he received it in Washington, D.C. to perform the second autopsy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
He said, nevertheless, a posterior neck dissection performed without review of the anterior neck structures is incomplete. Therefore, this pathologist cannot rule out injury to the neck as a contributor or a cause of death. He said he would need to have the medical examiner in Mississippi allow him to review the throat. That's why he said his autopsy is undetermined pending investigation. Remember, it's about transparency. Because the initial autopsy rightfully removed and dissected each organ, there are additional limitations inherent in the second autopsy of Nolan Wells. The most significant of the limitations was the inability to directly observe the airway and the lungs for water and directly observe the stomach for gastric contents. He said it is very significant as to what the initial forensic scientists who got to review the body when it was recovered We have heard from our call center people saying the body wasn't waterlogged. Well, we need to know those things. But unfortunately, because the body was decomposed and the organs have already been dissected, those are things we can only get from the initial autopsy. So therefore, again, the manner and cause of death is undetermined until further investigation. We are hopeful that the Mississippi Medical Examiner would give Dr. Mitchell an opportunity to see their photographs and their observations to the condition of Nolan Wells' body closer in time to July 4th. That is very important, and we have to continue to demand transparency.
It seemed like they would have to give them the original photos of his body that they originally took.
In addition, the original toxicology results have not been received at the time of this report. And we continue to wait for the toxicology to come back because, again, that will be part of the investigation into Nolan Wells' autopsy by Dr. Mitchell. It is significant to note that it's many things that go into toxicology that only Dr. Mitchell would be able to opine upon, and medical experts can opine upon. And he feels the proper place to do that is before a grand jury in a courtroom. And so we would hope that the district attorney would present Dr. Mitchell before the grand jury as well. We want all relevant information to be heard by the grand jury. Lastly, in cases where a death has occurred in or around a body of water, this is important. Lastly, in cases where a death has occurred in or around a body of water with suspicion of drowning, it is important to confirm how that person entered the water. This is the crux of the matter. This information is especially important for those deaths of persons who can swim. As in the case with Nolan Wells,
Right, did they find
at the time of this report, this forensic pathologist does not know the condition of Nolan Wells. He did not know whether he was conscious or unconscious when he entered the water. He said that would be significant. He said he did not know whether he was forced into the water or unforced into the water. He said that would be significant. So he said the condition of Nolan Wells before he entered the water would be the crux of the matter. It would be of utmost importance to being able to determine a cause and manner of death. He said, definitive circumstances of death are required to determine the manner of death. For these reasons, this pathologist cannot rule out, and let me really call your attention to this. For these reasons, this pathologist cannot rule out if any intervening non-accidental factors contributed to or caused the death of Nolan Wells. Understand, he's saying based on the examination of the body, He cannot rule out foul play. That is significant. With the following questions still outstanding, number one, what were the circumstances that led to Nolan Xavier Wells entering the water? Number two, what was the body position when it was found? We know that a member of the United Cajun Navy said that he was face down and he was fully clothed. Number three, was there water in the airway?
Right, or the lungs.
Remember, he talked about the lungs and the airways, were they filled with water? Number four, is there any evidence of injuries to the anterior neck structure? We got the autopsy without his neck. We got the body without his neck at the time of the second autopsy. Number five, is there any evidence of any intracranial hemorrhaging? He said that is going to be very significant. Things that he could not observe at autopsy that the initial medical examiner would have been able to observe. Number six, was the composition of what was the composition of the stomach contents? He talks about that being important because when was he found? How long had he been in the water? How long had it been since his last meal? All those things become relevant factors when you're trying to do a thorough and impartial autopsy. And number seven, what are the toxicology report findings? He said the best classification again for the cause and manner of death for Nolan Xavier Wells is undetermined pending investigation. This forensic pathologist reserves the right to review and incorporate additional forensic pathology information into his opinion as it becomes available. He says the above opinions are expressed to a reasonable degree of medical certainty. Dr. Roger A. Mitchell, July 19, 2026. And we know that, as I said, this is only another part of the puzzle. And even though it tells us significant information, we still have more questions than we have answers at this time. And we will continue to press forward and persist, Christine and Elmore, with getting the answers to these questions. Because as you, yes, we will persist, because as Christine and Elmore and Attorney Parker and I talked this morning, we know that there are so many conflicting stories. The fact that she said him being found face down, the fact that we have other videos where people who have called said that is Nolan, who is in some kind of dispute with others. We're looking at all of these things. The fact that the GPS tracking of the boat is being questioned by many. We're trying to dot every I and cross every T, because we understand that when our children's lives are at stake, it matters. Not just what happened, but what we do in the aftermath of them being taken away from us. And just like the NAACP stood up when another tragedy in Mississippi taking the life of young Emmett Till, we will stand up for Nolan Wells. Just like the NAACP and civil rights leaders stood up. When another Mississippi son was taken in Medgar Evers, we would stand up for Nolan Wells. And just like too many of our young people, Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Botham Jean, Terrence Crutcher, Stephon Clark, Sandra Bland, Atiana Jefferson, Alton Sterling, Eric Gardner, George Floyd, Tamir Rice, the young people who I was trying to focus on. Gary, we stand up until we get the truth, until we get justice for Nolan Wells. 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 Justice for Nolan Wells.
So it looks like they're getting ready to end it. I'm probably going to stop it soon because they may not do Q&A.
We asked if Christine and Elmore and President Johnson can come back and join us on the stage, and Trevon, we will have you coordinate questions and answers for us or President Johnson or Attorney Park and I. I will say this: as President Johnson comes to the stage, I was sharing this with him and Chairman Russell, Christine Clark. God knows we wish we had you at the Department of Justice now. Christine Clark. As I was sharing with President Johnson and Reverend Al and others, this is so important that we continue to talk about Nolan Wells and what happened to him, and that we get attention on him, because in getting attention on him, it brings attention, Cliff Jones, to other cases that are not getting their attention as of yet. But I'm so grateful to Christine and Elmore, because they said whatever we can do, not only to help our son, but to help these other young black boys who was killed the July 4th holiday. And I want to take a moment before we answer your questions to talk about two other young black men, both 18 years old, who were killed in extraordinary ways that are very similar to Nolan. President Johnson, 18-year-old Daniel Irvins went on a fishing trip, out on a fishing boat,
Canoe,
with two other young men. He was the only black. It is alleged that he ended up accidentally drowning, but his two white friends got his cell phone and threw it away, got his clothes and threw it away, and then went and deleted all of their text messages with him and social media. Sounds familiar?
This Nolan Wells case.
And they've only been charged with tampering with evidence. And his mother is crying out that they should be charged with murder, because if they will lie about his cell phone and his clothes and deleted messages, then they will lie about what really happened to Daniel Irvins. And then there's the matter, President Johnson, Christine Clark, of 18-year-old Tyler Smith. Tyler Smith, on 4th of July, was at a house party with about 10 other people. He was the only black person at the house.
How ironic.
He somehow ends up shot in the head, dead.
See, and he's
Some
still
of the
that I haven't
friends
even heard about yet.
get rid of the gun. The police show up. They tell the police it was an accident. It was an accidental shooting, that they were playing Russian roulette,
Oh, wow.
and Tyler Smith ended up getting killed. And apparently, Christine Clark, President Johnson, the police just took their word for it. His mother and grandmother are incensed. They asked the police, did you do a gunshot residue test on his hands? And the reason they said they had to call us, like Daniel Urbans and Nolan Wells family, because the police told them, President Johnson, that there was no need to do gunshot residue on his hands or any of the other people in the house, because I don't understand this logic, but they said if they were playing Russian roulette, then all of them will have gunshot residue on their hands.
Right.
So we don't need to do gunshot residue tests. It makes no sense whatsoever. So they are taking the word of these 10 people that your son just killed himself. And you don't have to worry about doing any investigation or testing forensically anything. Just take our word for it. Now, can you imagine in any 3 of these scenarios, had the survivors been young black men and they were with a young white man and he ended up dead, what kind of investigation would there have been? What kind of interrogation would there have been? Would they have ever been able to see the light of day until those questions were answered? But just like you would do a thorough investigation for your children, we want you to do a thorough investigation for our children.
Yeah, you know, so and these are things that
We don't want anything special.
These unjustified
We just want equal
reports come back.
justice.
They full of
Equal
shit.
justice.
They hiding a lot of shit.
And so with that, I'll turn it over to Trevon to lead us in the final session.
We'll have a few questions. We have my colleagues on either side with microphones. Please announce your name and your media outlet if you have any questions. We're going to be quick because we have other programming going on in real time. We'll go here first.
Oh, thank you. Hi, everybody. Samantha Chapman, ABC7 Chicago. You just unveiled a comprehensive outline of the independent report. Can you summarize for our viewers? Because there's a lot to take in, a lot of information. So in summary, can you succinctly tell us what we can take away from this report? And also, if you can provide more details about the neck.
Yep.
I heard a lot of people behind me gasping when that detail was mentioned.
Yep. Let me try to be very comprehensive. As Dr. Roger Mitchell said, that the focal area of red discoloration in the soft tissue of the back of the head, the occipital region, is significant because he cannot determine why you have that red discoloration in the back of his brain. That's significant. He also talked about, Mr. Williams, if you can, just the fact that as it's common practice, he was missing his throat when they received the body.
How the fuck he gonna be missing his
He
throat?
wants to know
That's
why
crazy.
they held it back. He's not drawing any conclusions, but he said he would want to examine it if there were neck fractures or compressions to the neck. And he thinks that's significant to know at autopsy. the reason he said he would hold it back when he was medical examiner because he thought that there may have been some issues with neck fractures. The last thing that is significant is what we said before about him, the condition of his body when he went into the water. Was he conscious or unconscious? Was he forced or unforced into the water? He said those things are very significant.
Oh, the
But he
lungs should
started
show
off
that.
talking about this red discoloration in the back of his head is something that was of great concern to him. Thank you.
We'll go here.
Daryl Denard with Chicago Speaks on V103. What specifically are you calling for from Mississippi authorities in terms of transparency, but more importantly, investigations?
I know President Johnson is from the state of Mississippi, and the Mississippi Conference president is here. They're calling, as we are, for a fair, impartial, comprehensive investigation. When Nolan's parents heard the sheriff say there's no foul play at the beginning of the investigation, that is cause for concern, major concern. You haven't even investigated that you're saying foul play. And so we want them to dot every I and cross every T. You know, we had a meeting with the district attorney, and we expressed to them about our lived experiences. The fact, and you know, they said that's not what happens in her office, but we said, we believe if the roles reversed and there were 3 young black 18-year-olds and there was a white 18-year-old who was with them and he ended up dead, we don't believe that those young black men would not have been interrogated to the full extent of the law. We believe that it would not have been a choice whether they were going to cooperate with law enforcement if their lawyers and them were going to cooperate. No, they would have been held until they gave answers. They would have been held until they explained the cell phone in their possession. They would have been held until their cell phones have been examined. Right. And so whatever you would do, had the roles been reversed, we want you to do the same thing for Nolan Wales.
We have time for one more question, and then we're going to have a prayer with our Religious Affairs Committee with the family. One more question here. My sister.
I'm Tiffany Walden with the Tribe in Chicago. I know that we're talking about a transparent investigation, but for families and people who are watching, can you kind of give a breakdown or a timeline to the best of your ability of the contact that you've had with Mississippi authorities or Ocean Springs authorities or the Cajun Navy? Have you all talked to them? Do they call you after the initial autopsy? Is it just radio silence from them? Do you have to call them? Can you kind of walk us through that process?
So the last time we actually spoke with local authorities, which would be the sheriff's department, was I think a day or two after his body was found. That was only initiated by me. I sent him a text message. I was like, hey, this is Christine, Nolan's mom. I just want to see if there are any updates. Basically, he called back. There were no updates. He's like, we're still interviewing. And again, my concern, and also my husband's concern, was it was not even an hour that his body had been removed. And the sheriff came out and said, this is, accidental drowning. We don't think there's foul play.
Right.
Again,
how the fuck
that
would a
is
sheriff
why
do some
we're
shit like
doing
that?
what we're doing
He should have
and
been
why we're
investigated
moving the way
and
we
fired
are.
for even coming out.
Because
saying some
I
bullshit
sat
like
there
that.
and asked them, please take this case as if this is your child,
Yes.
your family member, your whatever. And they promised that they would, but when you make statements like that straight out the gate, that's an issue. We did meet with the DA. She did promise, transparency and all of this, all of that. However, damage has already been done because now that's the narrative that's being pushed by the general public, who again, know nothing really, only what they're hearing from other people. So in addition to that, it's all these things coming up. And at the end of the day, like I said before, any parent that would be in this situation, you would do anything to find out what happened to your child. And that is what we're here to do.
It is very important to note that this narrative, this suggestion that it was an accidental drowning, nothing to see here, is troubling, even if that's the case. There were 300 to 400 people out on Horns Island. You mean to tell me nobody saw anything? Nobody can tell us anything about what happened to one of the few black people that were out there on that island that day? It just doesn't add up. The fact that they're saying Nolan said that he would stay behind, but yet an 18-year-old kid would not want his cell phone if he was going to stay behind. The fact that, you have the young lady saying that he said he was going to get back on the boat with the boys, and then the boys saying no, he said he was going to stay behind and talk to her. If that was the case, don't you believe Nolan would have said, give me my cell phone, I'm going to stay behind. Give me my car keys, I'm going to stay behind.
Right.
It's not adding up. And so we're going to keep fighting and digging until we get the answers, the transparency, the truth, the accountability, and justice for Nolan Wells. 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 Justice for Nolan Wells.
Justice for Nolan Wells.
Justice for Nolan Wells. That's what
Justice for Nolan Wells.
and hopefully
We're going to have our Religious Affairs
I'm
Committee
hoping
join
that
us
this
quickly
will-
so we
will
can
be
have a
our
quick word of
commentaries,
prayer with the
in this
family, and that will conclude our press conference formally.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop this. So yeah, that was the press conference. So I need for you guys to give me your thoughts, give me your opinion on this. I got a few comments that's in here. James Saunders said he's a race hustler and a troublemaker. A lot of us wasn't even born when Emmett Till was murdered. But now tell me why you say that, James. And what's going on, James Saunders? But yeah, man, give me you guys your thought, give me your opinion. From what I heard, from what they read, it sounds like this young man was probably choked out. Probably it sounds like a murder, like something happened. He was choked out and they killed this young man. My question is, why didn't they talk about his lungs? Like, was there water inside of the lungs? So and that's my thing. I'm kind of concerned about that. Why didn't they answer those questions? But it's a lot of unanswered questions. His throat didn't that come back? What kind of shit is that? Like, how you gonna send his body back without his throat? We don't know if those are practices that they use, or that they do. They said it was kind of something that they were looking at or whatever with the throat, but you got to send that shit everything over. That's crazy. So I need for you guys to like, comment, subscribe, and share. You heard the autopsy report. Give me your thoughts. Give me your opinion. What have you, what's your results? They did not say it was an accidental drowning. They just said undetermined until further investigation, meaning that, in my opinion, means that, they're getting ready to do some indictments going forward, especially with these friends. So yeah, I just want to come in for a little bit and talk about this. It's been over an hour and 40 minutes. I didn't realize that We came in a little bit early and was trying to set up and to get a little bit ahead of this. But yeah, man, it's still a lot of unanswered questions, in my opinion. From what I heard, it sounds like this young man, like they tried to choke him out. We don't know if it was on the island, but from the evidence that we were getting from the original reports, that he made it back to land. Maybe he was choked out on land and then they took him back to the island and dumped. But James Sanders, clear that up. I didn't understand the comment that you left. He said he's a race hustler and a troublemaker. A lot of us wasn't even born when Emmett Till was murdered. But no, when he bring up stuff like that, James, that just lets you know the bullshit that they was pulling back in those times. Emmett Till was killed. Emmett Till was murdered. And the murderers are still walking free. So you always have to throw that shit up, James. So that's why I said I didn't understand what you meant by that. We have to throw up all of our young men that was murdered and killed. And it was unjustified. Because his murderers are still walk. Hopefully they dead by now. But his murders never was convicted. But at the end of the day, man, this is going to be an ongoing investigation. They need to, like I said, indict these friends. It sounds like they're getting ready to send this over to the grand jury, and these young men are going to be indicted. The men that was on that boat with him. So, like I said, the comment section is open. You guys heard the report. You heard what they reported back, what it said, and what it didn't say. My thing is, I wish they would have talked a little bit more about it. Maybe I have to go back, because I was doing the show trying to watch everything and make sure you guys were seeing everything clearly, and we didn't have any buffering. But, my thing is they did not specify, and you guys can correct me, about the lungs. Was there water or not inside the lungs? Meaning that if it was water inside the lungs, that meant that he was alive when he was in that water. So they got to clear shit like that up, man. Got to be, more sufficient at giving us information about that, but look, it's been an hour and 43 minutes. I didn't realize we was on here that long, and look, I need for you guys to hit you guys over on Facebook, please come over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and I want to thank everybody who came on, who made a comment, who watched the show. It definitely was liking to this Autopsy Report. We've been waiting on this for a few weeks now. He talked about all the other murders that have gone throughout the years, and I'm probably going to do a show about this a little later on, man. Like I said, I just did a video the other day about a young man, and this was after the Nolan Wells murder, after Nolan Wells' death, I should say. It was another young man that pretty much they tried to hang this young man. They looked like they said, like the sister reported, like his damn near neck was damn near cut off, and he went down to this music festival to perform. The family also said this young man was not suicidal. He went down there and performed, and they found him the next day in his tent with his damn near hanging out of his tent. So pretty much it sounded like they tried to hang this young man, and it's always no evidence, no one see nothing or any of that. It's just the bullshit, man. We have to be mindful of what's going on. We have to realize that we are being targeted, that we are being attacked. So we're going to talk about that tonight. We're definitely going to talk about that, what's been going on through the country, because we are definitely being targeted. We are definitely coming up, in fucked up situations when we're dealing with our white friends. So look, I don't have anything else to add. I just want to come on and bring you guys this autopsy report that we have been waiting on for weeks. So, but look, the comment section is open. It'll always be open. So leave your comments. I would love to hear your opinion on what you think about this autopsy report. So it's another one. It's your boy Damn D, and I am out. Peace.